Here we go.
All right. So our topic that we're doing is gifted and talented students. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Macey.
All right, so to get started, I'm going to explain what the definition of gifted and talented students is. So, fun fact that we learned is there's actually no universal definition. Okay, so, but we did find Michigan's definition. And Michigan's definition is students whose abilities, talents, and potential for accomplishment are so exceptional or developmentally advanced that they require special provisions to meet their educational programming needs. Alrighty, moving on to some statistics. Actually, Macey and I really struggled with finding statistics. A lot of the statistics that we did find were like just repeating the same thing over and over again. So that's why there's not a whole bunch on here. But what we did find is, according to the National Association for Gifted Children, between 6 to 10% of students are gifted and could use additional support in the classroom. So that's like a total of 3 to 5 million children in grade K through 12. And actually, some of the websites that I read that had this exact same statistic said it's pre-K to grade 12 too. So take that what you will. And then something else that we found, this was actually from the book, it said that gifted and talented is more prevalent in females than males, according to recent data. And then I'm gonna have you guys look at the bottom right-hand side, that picture. It says gifted inside the numbers. So 81% of teachers believe advanced students need special attention, which I think no matter, to me, it's hard for me to say disability, honestly, because I feel like when we think of disability, we think of something, I don't know how to say it in a good way, but I think it's really, no matter if you're struggling to learn information or if you know the information well, you still have to modify your curriculum for those students. Anyway, and then it says 88% of high school dropouts have passing grades, but drop out because of boredom. And actually, I have experienced this, not for myself, but in a lot of kids in my high school were like this. And then our last one on this one, it said 6 states mandate gifted programming and provide full funding. And those states are Arizona, Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Oklahoma. Something that we didn't include on this slide was that Michigan receives $0 in funding, which I blew both Macey and my mind. It was crazy. And then if you take a look at the picture on the bottom left, it's a national overview. And when you look at the left-hand side of the United States, 1/4 of gifted students are Hispanic and 3/4 of gifted students are either white or Asian. And then, Macey, can you explain the 9, 10 teachers? I can't remember what you said.
Okay, so this says 9 out of 10 teachers want professional development and education because it's not something that we normally cover in our classes. They want the school to do like professional development days dedicated to how to help these students.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that wraps up statistics. Let's go ahead and move on to characteristics. So we said highly gifted students are energetic and have high ability levels. Exceptionally gifted students have different values and may self-isolate while posing concerns to universal problems. Some general characteristics that you might will probably see in your gifted and talented students in your classroom will be their aptitudes will vary. They'll be quick to answer questions. They're a perfectionist or going to be pretty close to being a perfectionist. They're going to have some anger and frustration problems. They're going to require minimum effort to get good grades or to do good on assignments. Struggle with peer relationships. So when I first read this, it made me think of an example. Actually, I had a lot of examples, but one of the most recent was there was a gifted and talented student. I would say, I'm not 100% sure, but I would consider them gifted and talented in college. And they were always the one to like answer all the questions. And I think that has a lot to do with how their relationships with their peers are. They ask questions frequently, such as how, and a lot of like but questions, like or like what if questions, and puzzles and solving problems. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about today is barriers in education. Some of the one, I'm not going to explain every single one of them, but one is lack of time. Another is lack of pedagogy skills. Another one is limited support from administrators, and this could be supporting, teachers, supporting families of gifted and talented students, or just supporting, the students in general. Difficulty finding resources. I think this one was really obvious for Macey and I because, just researching this, it was really, really hard to find information on it, other than, for the most part, what was in our book. The next one, teachers lack sufficient discipline knowledge. Classroom management issues. Sometimes, and this kind of ties back into the characteristics, but sometimes when you don't modify or come up with extra activities for your students that are gifted and talented, they're just gonna be bored. They're gonna, who knows, some might sleep, some might just lay with their head down, they might get done early with their assignments, and they might want to, go bug student A or student B and blah, 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 blah. So that would cause classroom management issues for sure. Another one is misguided beliefs and attitudes about learning. For example, like, I don't know why I have to learn this, I already know it, and then just not wanting to do the assignments. And then inability to modify curriculum. And then Macey's going to take over for the next couple slides.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by discussing some terms that are commonly associated with your gifted students. The first one is distance learning. So this is where students are in their home school, but it's typically done through an online setting. Thankful for technology. This might be like they attend a college class or they attend seminars based on what their interest is and where they are gifted at. Aptitude is another common term. This is their like ability level and how well they can do certain things. Enrichment is like basically helping them perfect their gifted area, because you don't have to be gifted in math or science or social studies. You can be any of Gardner's multiple intelligences, really. You can be gifted in music, art, kinesthetics. It goes on and on. IEPs, because a lot of times students need this because, like Taylor said, they put in minimal effort. They need extra stuff to help boost them to the next academic level because they're so much higher than the other students usually. And another one is underachievement. This can be from different areas. They typically put in minimal effort because they're not used to having to. So when they do have to, they get easily frustrated and then they're just like, I'm done. And then they don't want to put in any additional effort. Twice exceptional. This is typically with gifted students, they may also have a disability along with that. That might be autism or ADHD. And then acceleration is because they learn certain things so much faster. They go through the curriculum quicker than their peers, so teachers need to learn how to like adapt to their acceleration speed based on that specific student. And then achievement tests. These help determine where your student is academically, so you know which parts of the curriculum you need to focus on and which parts they've already mastered and they're just going to be bored with, which we'll kind of touch with that and some strategies as well. Okay, so here's the slide on classroom strategies. The first one is curriculum compacting, and that is where you give your students basically like a pretest and see where they are in terms of the curriculum. You don't want to like give them stuff they already know, they're going to get bored, but some stuff they do have to complete in order to, pass the school mandated curriculum. Then the second strategy is enrichment activities, also known as extension activities. A lot of times gifted students will like what they're gifted in because, if you're good at something, you want to do it. I know for my 40 hours, I was in a Title I math class, and there was a second grader doing sixth grade math. And he was catching on really quickly. Like I was teaching him how to convert fractions to decimals and decimals to percents and so on and so forth. And he caught on faster than what I remember some of my peers catching on when I was in sixth grade learning it. So they need extra activities different from their peers to help get them to their next level, and so they don't get held back. And then another strategy I thought was pretty cool was a mentorship. This is where you set the student up with someone in a specific field to what they excel at. Like in the picture, it shows these two little boys working with a scientist. And, this might be hard for some rural areas, but if you have like a science kid, you could talk to the EPA and have someone come in or video conference with them. Or if you have like a mathematician kid, you could have like an insurance adjuster come. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can incorporate to mentor your students, especially with technology, which is our next strategy, is to definitely incorporate technology. There's tons of resources out there that are designed to help students who are gifted because there's only so much teachers can help with. You can also, this is more for secondary education, you can do the dual course college enrollment. So when students achieve all their high school credits, they can take online or even go into an actual college campus and take classes alongside with their senior classes, junior classes, and in some cases, freshmen have been known to take college classes too, which is incredible because sometimes I struggle with my college classes. Work-based learning experiences. This is similar to a mentorship, but students, sometimes they are able to get paid and the school sets up with the place of the student that the students are going to be working in to make sure that they're learning stuff and they're not just working. Like they set up a kind of like a lesson plan for what the student will do in the workplace. And then problem-based learning. These students love to solve puzzles, and this strategy is where you give students real world problems and then they have to solve them. So like if you have a student who's gifted in science and likes like humanitarian efforts, you could have them try to design something to solve like purifying water in third world countries based on stuff that the countries have access to. I don't know, the sky's the limit. Whatever your kids are interested in, you just got to find it and then like hone in on it. But before you pick one of the strategies, there are some things you have to keep in mind. Will it keep the students engaged? Because like the gifted student I was talking about from my 40 hours, he loved math. It was his favorite subject and he would do it. But there was some days he was just like, you know, I've done my math. I'm done for the day. I love it, but I just need a break. So you had to come up with like alternative ways to keep him engaged in a lesson. And then, does it help socially and academically? I know for the exceptionally gifted students, they are more introverted, and you want to try to like get them out of that shell because there are times where we have to communicate with adults and peers and colleagues and stuff. So you're really, really smart. You still got to be able to communicate with others so they can help learn from you too. And then, like Taylor said, one of the barriers is time. Is there enough time to implement this strategy? Because the students still have to complete all their curriculum coursework typically. Even if they do it faster, you know, trying to teach them new strategies and put new interventions it all takes time. And when you're trying to deal with 30 other students, that's kind of difficult. So, you know, you gotta figure out a way to balance it all, I guess. Okay. And now I'm going to talk about classroom accommodations. So these are similar for a lot of other disabilities and even the general population. Choice. You got to give them choice because some days they want to learn math one way or science another, and sometimes they might want to do hands-on, sometimes they might want to do reading. You know, try to form lessons that appeal to all of the multiple intelligences so they can kind of like hone in on the parts they like. Avoid memorization tactics. Students set goals. Your students know what they can and cannot achieve, whereas you might underestimate them and they don't get to their full potential, or you might overestimate them, give them too much, and then swamp them down. And we really don't want to swamp our kids down. We want them to be excited about learning and know that they can achieve their goals. Okay, and this next one is a little challenging sometimes. Group students academically. The second grader I was talking about, he was so far advanced above the rest of his class. There really wasn't anyone he could group with. So when we took him out for Title I, he spent half the time with the second grade group and half the time with the third grade group. But because, you know, he's gifted academically, but socially he interacts like a second grader. So you got to be careful when you move kids up to try to like pair them with like-minded individuals academically, because sometimes just because they're as smart as their peers doesn't mean they can socially interact and the experience will be good for them. You got to make sure it's good for everybody. And then you got to make it fun. You got to keep it interesting, again, to make it excited about learning. Figure out ways that they like their interests, appeal to their interests, and then offer extension activities that they will find enjoyable and not bogged down by. Like they'll want to do them, inspire to do more. Make sure you're flexible. These students often, you know, they shut down. They struggle with sensitivities. They know that they're different than their peers. They're way smarter, and they don't think their peers are as smart as them sometimes. And, you know, they want to communicate with people they can connect to. Avoid memorization again. I put that one twice. And you gotta make sure you challenge them at just the right amount, not so they get overwhelmed, but so that they have something to overcome, and then they can feel accomplished when they overcome it. I think if you look to the right, there's a graphic that I really like the saying on it. It says, children who are not challenged are cheated, because you're not helping them to get to their fullest academic potential if they're not challenged a little bit. Okay, this is a really cute movie, and I can't play it on Zoom so you can hear the volume. So I'll drop the link below. We had a really cool activity plan. We were going to split you guys up based on secondary and elementary kids, and then have you guys give you little scenarios. But obviously we can't do that. So this is a clip from a movie called Gifted, and it's a really good movie. It's about a little girl who is being raised by her uncle, and she's gifted in math. And this scene is where her first day of first grade, and the teacher is like working with the students on math, and you can see like some of the characteristics really pop out. So I highly recommend this movie. But for this activity, since we had to modify it, I want you guys to watch the link below if you guys are able to, and then think about, or maybe even comment, what you would do if you were Mary's teacher, how you would help her, and how you would, help integrate her in the classroom when she's obviously much more advanced than her peers. Um, that is all we have for you today. We're glad that you guys made it through this semester, since we're the last. Yeah, we're the last ones, so if they made it to us, they made it through.
We did it, guys.
Give yourselves a pat on the back and finish strong and have a great summer.
See ya.